Paul, what do you think episode 300's going to be like?
Episode 300, well, that's going to be 1,000 years in the future, Paul. So anything can happen. There'll be tubes that suck our dreams away to fuel government expeditions into inner space, and we'll have cushions everywhere.
Everywhere?
Yeah.
Oh, man. Oh, I can't wait for that.
That's as far as I can imagine.
The dream-sucking thing doesn't sound too nifty, but the cushions thing I'm very on board with. I am frequently out in public and just think, oh, I could do it.
You just want a cushion everywhere, wouldn't you?
I would swap my most sincerely held dreams and imaginings for a cushion right now.
Well, you know when you're down in Lewisham High Street or Melbourne High Street, there's just one.
Yes.
And there's that guy running at you with a syringe, and he's waving it around, going, I'll show you the meaning of Christmas and love. And you,
and you follow him for a bit.
Yeah. But you think, God, if there was just a cushion strapped to his chest and yours, the chances of being attacked by that syringe would be much lower. It's like 17% lower. And I think that's something we can all get behind.
They say the nanny state mollycoddles people, but I would like that very much to become literal. If I could just get various civil servants to come up and just nuzzle with me once a day, I really would be quite comfortable giving up as many civil liberties as I have to give.
As many as you are currently giving up. So
for nothing. I say deal.
Much like the dream-sucking device, you'd find you're in this sort of very positive symbiotic relationship with the state, which is what we've been working towards ever since Nye Bevan got up and said, hey, do you know what? NHS shoes.
Absolutely. And isn't that really the dream of Britain? That one day the euthanization machines will have the face of your dream gal?
Probably.
Welcome to One Good Thing, a podcast that you've probably got the gist of by now. I'm Paul Salt.
I'm Paul Goodman.
And welcome to episode 200 of our podcast.
Yeah. Da da da.
Da 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 da. Yeah, I like Star Wars. Nice one, mate.
Yeah. Last Jedi, that's pretty much the last 100 episodes. I would.
Yeah, we really ruined the franchise with the last 100 episodes. We have recorded 200 regular episodes, 8 quick things, and some other stuff, which just about rounds out to something to celebrate. So, we are going to take some questions from the OG team, talk about our most and least favourite films we've covered, and also hear some very special contributions from some of our mind-breaking guests that we've had on the show.
Is it Brett Goldstein?
It's Brett Goldstein. He's out for revenge. It's not a positive contribution he sent. He's less happy about the fact that his intellectual property was a guest star in our very popular paid-for Patreon content.
Yeah, but he's a pro nonetheless, and by
he
pro
is.
I mean not likely to litigate.
Please be pleased. So, one sour note. In a year of disappointment and misery, the final and probably most devastating blow of the year is that I do not have access to our yearly outtakes reel.
What?
It's always the funniest part of our yearly output. And as soon as it's safe and legal for me to travel back to the flat, we will release them as a bonus episode. But until then, Here's a little preview of something we fucked up in this very episode.
Oh, how you going there, Mum? Oh, I mean, Dad. Oh, I mean, Uncle. I mean, Paul. I want to fuck Paul up the arse. Oh, God, no!
Sorry, mate. I was picking up my glasses. I didn't hear any of that. Mate? Huh. Brilliant stuff. I'm sure you'll agree, Paul.
Lunatics.
Oh, when they get it wrong, it's almost as good as when they get it right.
God, it's like Kramer pretending to choke.
The woman he's furious at.
He's Dreyfus. But wanting to, actually.
But also actually doing that.
Yeah.
But look, that's enough of that. Let's do some navel gazing. So, first question. How has the 2020 pandemic, of which most of our fans will be familiar, except that one guy who listens from Antarctica, he's fine. He's wondering why he's getting less television this year than he usually does. But
he did see that cruise ship go by on fire.
He thought, that's probably something I should look into. But he didn't. He went back to clubbing seals. Yeah, he wasn't a good guy. He's not even doing it for anything. He loves us. He loves us and clubbing seals for no reason. It's his two big things. So
he loves us for no reason.
But if you're listening, Tick Tick, then there's been a pandemic, and it's meant it's somewhat tricky to do stuff. But how has it affected your podcasting this year, sir?
Well, if anything, my 2020, the caveat should always be the pandemic was awful, but I've had a fairly good year.
I'm so sorry that so many people died, but personally, it was quite good in some ways.
Yes, because it did mean that I didn't have to work.
Yes.
In most cases, I wasn't allowed to work. So
I wasn't allowed to travel for work, which was great, and something that should just generally be the case.
So it did offer a lot of people the introspection needed to reassess their lives and to look at what worked and what didn't work. And what I've realised, which I've known all along, is that work didn't work. And that doing whatever I wanted worked. So
all the time,
fuckers. I had a lot of time for that, which is great. And podcast-wise, we were extremely productive. We had we kicked off the Patreon and we went from releasing once a month, like all the other losers do, to releasing weekly.
Fuck yeah. Like us losers do.
Yeah, like us losers doing right now. We have
video content for the first time.
Yep, we done some Let's Plays, which was crazy, which is like kid tech mumbo jumbo. This time 6 months ago, I didn't know how to do it.
Nope.
Magic and luck and spit. And
so much spit involved.
And magic again.
A little bit of magic.
But yeah, and in terms of the podcast, well, it's just been same old shit every week, isn't it, Paul? Doing more and more films. Watching some real difficult ones there. I've got to say, this feels like it's been the year of boring films.
Yeah, it hasn't been great. Looking back over the past few dozen episodes, we have had some pretty almighty shit. But some odd things too. Things that, we never would have turned to before. I immediately got to Matthew Whitaker's Mean Guns, which was such an odd little thing that he sent us.
Yeah.
And a little weird highlight of the year, I think, was watching Mean Guns, and it's bizarre. Kind of, I don't know, I don't quite know where it fits into the chronology of film, is Mean Guns. It just kind of feels like a thing that a bunch of people did in a warehouse together for laughs.
Yeah, not really a film.
I admire it for that. Yeah, not quite a film, in a good way.
Yeah, it's really hard to resent it when it's not even a film.
We've in the last 10 episodes experienced a fair few disagreements regarding the films. We had Dungeons and Dragons, The Spirit, No Orchid for Miss Blandish, and a few of the Christmas movies where we have found ourselves a little at odds. Just a little bit.
Van Helsing.
It usually comes down to,
Yeah. But yeah. But I do find when the other person disagrees, it's saying, well, I feel the exact opposite of that. I hate you as well.
It's some sort of clown man. Crazy, stupid clown man.
I think if you were a series in Japan, they would call you Clown Man Idiot. Yeah.
And that is hard to deal with when that happens.
I wonder what it is. Maybe it's just the Australian way of life and the British way of life finally ripping us apart from that womb that we stole and lived in for many years.
Yeah, you're so contented and I'm so wet all the time. It's
knowing that I'm in a land where I can just steal lemons is
whenever you like, and no one will litigate against that. They couldn't.
They literally couldn't because because in Australia, why would you? You can't be proud of anything. You can't show yourself to be better than anyone at anything.
It was weird for me to look back and realise that the first episode of this year was when Sean joined us for Hercules in New York. Well, not quite.
Oh, wow.
It was Jack and Jill again. And that wasn't... it was Grown Ups again. And it was when I counted all of the jokes.
And started the year with so much energy.
Yeah, I mean, that was a very... Considering that was pre-lockdown, I'm kind of amazed that I started this year with that. But to some extent, that is right. When... There's something to having a very full schedule where you've got fucking films and work and all sorts of things that you've got to be rushing off and doing that does allow you to just be like, yeah, screw it, I'll just commit myself to this lengthy endeavour for the next few hours instead of sleep. I don't know why, and then suddenly when someone says, good news, you have all the time in the world, suddenly you just want to do nothing.
Yeah,
ever.
I mean, I guess having all the time in the world makes you appreciate having free time, so you're thinking, well, I could do extra work. Or I can actually capitalize on this and just...
Yes, I could go do something that will make my life meaningful, or like you say, just be lazy as fuck. and that's great.
It's been really nice. I spent the year and a half prior to lockdown in a job that was just giving me severe anxiety and dread.
Yeah.
So suddenly waking up and not having that looming over me every second.
Yeah.
I was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna do the podcast. It's great.
Yeah.
But I think I'm gonna replay Skyrim as well.
I look through the episode list, though. I do see some humdingers, as it were, as I go through. I can see Thinner, which was crazy and great laugh. Replicas, Jesus Christ. Invasion USA, baffling.
Yeah, God.
Fuck, there's Anaconda. It's just been, but yeah, for every Anaconda, though, I can see Doolittle, Like a Boss, Artemis Fowl, and it's just, we had a tricky old year. It's just been this momentous year, and it's funny how we've still managed, and it's still such an amazing thing that we've managed to get an episode a week out in spite of everything. And I will say, though, for all of the sort of things that we've filled our lives with in this year, it was probably the easiest Halloween edit that we've done so far.
Yeah, my God, that was so good.
Because we stayed ahead of it, we edited as we went, and it came together very nicely, I think, considering this was probably the year I gave the least shit about in terms of what the movies meant to me and how much I liked them. Like, I really love our 3 previous episodes because those were about movies that I loved as a teenager.
Yeah.
I think our episode this year was great. I think it was really funny and I liked it a lot. But those movies, I can't, now that we've done that, I can't see myself watching any of them again. Maybe Freddy vs. Jason and definitely Halloween 2018. But that's it.
Yeah.
And that was a challenge.
It was a slew of very disappointing movies.
Yes. And I can't wait to see how next year compares.
Oh, God. Yeah. Well, I don't want to wish for another lockdown in another year-long pandemic.
Yeah. No, it'd be nice. It would be nice if it was like, good news, everyone, nobody's dying. Nevertheless, everyone should try and stay at home. Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Do we have to? No.
Do it.
Yeah. All right.
Okay, if you say so.
Benefits.
You sure will. We're extending furlough. We're doing the Paul Goodman 1950 special. We are introducing a universal wage. If you have more important things to do than make money, fine, we'll just pay you not to work.
Which it is fine. I balk at introducing, trying to justify that to the world, and that's definitely the world's problem.
It's definitely the world's problem that the super rich have convinced you to work in their slave machines.
Yeah.
So that you can earn enough for your next Big Mac. Wake up, sheeple. That's right.
How noble.
I'm hard pivoting this this podcast into a socialist political, I don't know, diatribe each week. We're basically trying to just get onto the radar of this very attractive communist lady I have on my Twitter. So if you could all get behind that, then if you could all get back to that, then I feel like we could really meet Paul and I and myself. Nope. Grammar man, how do I do this? Our goal.
Yeah.
Paul and my goal.
We're goal.
What would be my goal if Paul wasn't there? So I guess it is Paul and my goal.
Yeah.
Paul's and my goals.
Yeah. Mine and Paul's goal.
Look, we're trying to get me to fuck this chick. Okay, so let's just.
It's all about the P-Dog. So it's I feel like we're getting there as well. Because the sentiment there was true, it's genuine. Who really wants to work unless you actually like your job?
In which case, great, you should be able to do that, but also pay a little tax so that other people don't have to. And then it'll be great. And then we'll have robots do all the stuff that nobody wants to do. Explore space together and each other's bodies.
And because it's going to be the freaky kind of socialism where we make you do that.
Oh, fuck it. Hey, don't think it's not going to be horny. Don't you dare go away thinking that. Have you seen a picture of Karl Marx? That brother got down.
Think Stalin horny. It's going to be that.
The Stalinist fuck pits that were installed all over the country is what we're hoping to bring here. And that's why we need you all to vote Corbyn 2024. We're going to make it happen somehow. Okay, so I guess the only other question before we move on to segments, and for the love of God, get on with this, is how are we feeling about the podcast after the fucking ages that we've been doing it?
It's no more existentially painful than it was last year. No, it's
I'm glad to hear it.
It's been great. It's
I love
as with everything
I
think
that we do.
Yeah, as with everything that takes in as much time as we do put into it.
Yeah.
Because I think we've mentioned this before. You know, we share editing, and we tend to find that it's a painstaking process, and we can be quite finicky with editing. So it is a very time-consuming process.
Yeah.
But still, I'm still able to see the worth and the benefit of the time you put in. You still see the results.
Yeah. I love having this little corner of the sort of film discussion. You know, I love being able to have a place to talk, first of all, to you, and, you know, just have a little avenue for us to have these discussions and to make people think, because I do get messages from people saying, hey, I heard your episode and it made me think about this thing as well, and here's what I have to say, and that's great.
It's so cool. In my new job, I've had people come up and say they've listened, and Jem, if you're listening, I'm definitely talking about you. Came up and he heard the Home Alone 3 episode and the Fantastic episode, which was amazing in itself, because it was just kicking up all these memories of like watching the movie together and editing. Like the editing process of Home Alone 3 was particularly weird because we had a computer tech fuck up.
Wow, I can't remember that far back. Jesus.
Yeah. I think we had to record on 2 channels for the first time. We'd never done that before. We always used to record into a single channel on your
We did,
PC.
Yeah.
And I was editing it on the DLR as we were going to the cinema afterwards. I cannot remember.
Oh, that was that episode. No, nor can I. I remember doing that. Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
So there was that, and I remember Video Negative complimenting you for comparing it to No Country for Old Men or Tarkovsky or something.
Oh, fuck.
Like a moment of it anyway. A moment.
Yeah.
And so that was great, and it was just cool to reminisce about that, and then talk about what good there was or wasn't in those movies.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's that side of it's really cool as well. I love how it can strike up a conversation with people. That we're doing this positive as possible thing.
Yeah, I love that. I love the fact that people have praised it for that worth of it, the idea of being positive about film. And I just, so often when I'm trying to do my job as a film critic, I will suddenly be put in mind of something that only came about because of this podcast. You know, it's a really useful annual flexing of the critical muscles to try and, you know, articulate what it is you don't like about a film, and also try to find positive things to say about it and look at it in a different light. That's, you know, it means that you're forcing yourself to have a kind of double-sided conversation each week, and that's helpful. Far more helpful than just seeing endless movies, deciding what number of stars they deserve to get, and then just giving it to them.
Yeah,
you know,
it's really easy sometimes to criticize.
Yeah,
to be eloquent about criticizing, then, you know, it's a different story. But to have to sit down and look at things positively, I guess it's just training, isn't it? It's brain training.
Yeah,
and God knows I need it now.
Absolutely. Well, speaking of which, let's now get to our first of all. We're going to talk about the least favourite films we've watched in this podcast. We always try to find positive things to say about these fellas, but it's undeniable that we have watched some pretty terrible films, and I think it's worthwhile identifying the ones that are uniquely terrible so that we can move on and learn from them. And, make the point that, you know, hey, if your movie's bad, it's probably not as bad as one of these.
Yeah, we compiled these lists by coming up with our separate lists and sort of finding a compromise between the two that best gets across the message of how much we dislike these films. Just one very quick thing that I did want to mention was Artemis Fowl.
Oh yeah,
it was in my list, and even though it didn't have the same disdain and anger that some of these other movies have produced, it is just such an objectively, like, neutrally bereft film.
It really is.
The perfect example of cynical adaptation movie making. God, we've had some stinkers this year.
We really have. I don't know if we spoke enough about how disappointing it was that Kenneth Branagh was involved in that, because, I don't know, I recently rewatched his Murder on the Orient Express, and I really feel like he's so much better than that fucking film, because it really was diabolical. It was just completely without anything that would entertain. You know, it was so lacking in vision, so lacking in skill. It was very upsetting, the Artemis Fowl movie. I'd be very surprised to hear that someone really took it into their heart. But hey, if that's you, please get in touch. I'd love to we'd love to hear sort of what it is that you really found to love about it, because it just seems like such a barren enterprise. Speaking of which, we get to our number 10, Sex and the City 2.
That's wonderful. I know.
Sorry, David, it's all the way down here. We've managed to watch 9 films that are worse than this piece of shit. It's a movie with a bad soul. It's a movie that wants to capitalize on the popularity of Sex and the City, wants to do a crazy concept about them going to the Middle East, but had nothing to say about that at all, and had no interest in exploring the Middle East as a cultural thing, or interest in any of the potential that a story like that would have beyond marketing. It was a really cynical, unfunny, miserable experience, and it's way too fucking long.
Oh my god, yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Well, they took all that time jumping the shark.
Yeah.
Number 9. Sex Lives of the Potato Men.
It's fucking audible.
This is the first of 70 British sex comedies on the bottom 10 list.
It is something uniquely horrible about it being local.
Yeah, it's just so close and intimate and not relatable, but you know what I mean. Familiar, I think, is the word.
Yeah. Guys down the pub who might like this.
Yeah. There's a very, very good Adrian Charles joke, but other than that, it's fairly needless. This whole experience.
It was misjudged. It was a bad attempt at comedy, and if an Adrian Charles joke is the highlight of your film, then you gotta go and think about some stuff.
Please do.
Number 8. Similarly, you've got Bucky Larson, which is just a mean-spirited movie that wanted to laugh at his lead as much as humanize them.
I'm sorry.
Had a really poor sense of humor and just was made
lazy writing and plot devices all the way along.
Yeah. Christina Ricci, you need to get back into show business, but you need to murder that agent. You need to actually kill the person who got you involved in this.
It's not been good for a few years, so please reach out. We could probably help.
We
better than Bucky Larson.
We will produce a student film around you that is better than Bucky Larson, I promise. Just get in touch.
We've got the chops, we'll do it. 7. We're on a bit of a theme.
Oh, fuck me, yeah.
But Norbit.
I have a reputation to uphold.
Eddie Murphy, before he did Dolomite Is My Name, was in 17 just truly god awful movies of him in fat suits, and he plays Norbit, and he plays Norbit's wife, and he plays a Chinese guy, and it is just the broadest strokes, and it's crass, and it's It's crass without making me laugh, and which is obviously the biggest sin. There's just something about the way Eddie Murphy was scraping the barrel for ideas here, and they all just amounted to the same shitty idea.
And it really felt like punching down a lot of the time. They're just nasty. Speaking of which, there's so many comedies. Are any of them not comedies?
Yeah.
No. They're all comedies. There's something uniquely horrible about comedies, I think, that just irks
in your list, in your original list, were there any non-comedies?
Oh, I'm not sure.
Because in mine, I had Artemis Fowl and Transformers 2.
Those are both dreadful, to be sure. They just didn't bother me on the visceral level like these did. And at number 6, we have Lesbian Vampire Killers.
I'm trying my best, Miss Rossi.
My personal dislike of James Corden notwithstanding, I find him to be a very thoroughly charmless presence, and quite an overbearing and somewhat oppressive one. I think he's the friendly face of sort of British blokey misogyny, it seems. Somewhat from colloquial tellings of how he is in real life, but certainly in this film he is that. Yeah, he's just a bit of a lad, isn't it? You know?
Yeah.
Not gonna bum you anything. And it's just like, oh fuck, I wish this part of Britain would die.
It makes me cringe. It really makes my skin crawl to see him on his late show. You know, Reggie Watts is the band guy.
Yeah.
It makes me feel like that bit in Scott Pilgrim when he walks in and they're all playing shit pop at Jason Schwartzman's club.
Oh yeah.
It's like, oh no, Reggie Watts.
Get out of there.
Please stop. Yeah. I'm sure you're making more money than you've ever made in your life, but for me specifically, stop.
So yeah, Lesbian Vampire Killers is a hateful kind of movie.
Speaking of, Paul Blart, More Blart, Blart 2.
I'm just not ready for public consumption.
It's after revisiting it this year, it's a very annoying, relentless presence in Kevin James, just searching for that nug and never finding it.
Talentless.
it's just maddening to watch it go on and on and on, and it's hypocritical. It flip-flops. There's no consistency. I've just said the same thing 3 times. How angry I actually am.
And that's consistency.
Yeah. So learn something from that, Kevin.
We're kind of flip-flopping between American and British comedy disasters here, and we will do for the rest of this list, in fact. Next up is the British one, then. Run for Your Wife, starring, again, just a thoroughly unlikable person in Danny Dyer.
It's just a bit of a misunderstanding.
But also just the most lazy kind of end-of-the-pier, broad entertainment you've ever seen in your life. Just an attempt to really awkward, not quite sex comedy, because it doesn't even want to be that risque, so that you can pull in the kids as well. And I'm just so delighted that this absolutely lazy piece of shit was seen for what it is and bombed heavily on its release, because it's also just so out of date, you know?
Yeah.
It's the sort of movie that the director would probably say you couldn't make it anymore because of the PC Brigade, and it's like, no, you couldn't make it anymore because it was rubbish and nobody wanted it then or now.
Nick Griffin would probably use the term PC Brigade. So you got to draw the line somewhere. This is just shit, and you can, if it's risque but good, everyone's always going to make allowances for it.
Yeah.
Martin McDonagh writes way more like risque stuff than Run for Your Fucking Wife, but he's amazing and he's loved
For the most
world
part.
over. Yeah. Well, yeah. Can't forgive Seven Samurais. Not Seven Samurai. Seven Psychopaths is what I imagine you were talking about there.
Well, Three Billboards did prove to be somewhat divisive.
Oh no, I'm joking. But
okay.
yeah. Not about Seven Psychopaths though, because it is terrible.
Yeah,
but yeah. Run for Your Wife. Just what a lazy bag of wank.
Yeah. Speaking of which.
Yes, Jack and Jill.
Hey.
Why? Why are you making a face?
One of the laziest bags of wank I've ever seen. It's Adam Sandler following the Eddie Murphy. If it didn't work for him, it probably won't for me, but he seems pretty rich. Look at all those alimonies. Mode of thinking. It's Adam Sandler dressed up as a man and a lady. And punching down on just about anyone he can, and lazy screenwriting, lazy resolution. Everything has that horrible sheen to it, that fucking tourist brochure laminate, and Al Pacino's in it, just ending his own career.
Yeah, absolutely. That's dreadful. And very much like Norbit, it has that feel of our lead comedian wants to satirize all of the traits he dislikes in women. And wants to sort of unite those together into this grotesque kind of image of womanhood that's very much been created and curated by men. And it's just, really hurtful in that respect. It's really upsetting to watch these men sort of embarrass themselves like this. Speaking of embarrassing yourself, at number 2, we've got Zombie Women of Satan.
Yeah. Why,
my least favourite film ever made.
Fucking great tits, though.
It was before this podcast. It remains so to this day. I don't know how you describe it beyond maybe a team-building exercise that should never have been filmed. It's a bunch of fucking people who thought they would have a laugh out in the woods and made a student film that should not have been released, should not have been put into a film festival, should not have been put on DVD or made available for anyone other than the crew and maybe their families to see. Although even then, not really, because it's just embarrassing for everyone involved. It's technically poor, lacking any sort of flair. Script is the laziest thing you'll ever see, and it's just thoroughly lacking in anything that might entertain you.
Yeah, it's just so inconsequential, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is, and it just makes you feel upset after seeing it.
Well, speaking of that, and topping the list of the 10 movies that people would say you can't make movies like this anymore because the PC Brigade would have a fit is because really this is all 10 of them. It's Grown Ups 2.
Yeah.
It's the sketch show without any jokes, without any thought whatsoever. Even though we highlighted it as having a couple of nice moments, winning over Jack and Jill for that reason, it's just so biliously hateful in like throughout the rest of it.
Oh
that,
God!
It's cannot be anything other than a cash grab. Dennis Dugan has said as much. It's just an opportunity for Adam Sandler to hire and pay all of his friends to make themselves look ridiculous. But Taylor Lautner does multiple backflips.
Yeah, and there's a bit of evil there with Grown Ups too. With all of these, really, there's just a little bit. And I shouldn't... We'll talk about this more in the Patreon this week, because we touch upon the idea of hating a movie this week. But I don't know, there's something that makes me feel a little Grinch-like hating on a movie like Zombie Women of Satan that was made for no money. And, you know, probably nobody thought it would do as well as it did, even though that's not great. And the fact that I hate it for everything that it represents. I mean, that's the thing, is I hate it for what it is, not what it represents. Grown Ups 2 represents so much cynical, horrible shit. It's incredibly rich people profiting off of you and your family by trying to sell something that might keep you and your family entertained for the time that it's on, and it fails to do so because that was not the priority. The priority was marketing at you. And yeah, that makes it take the lead. That is definitely deservedly the worst film we've ever covered. Because it is certainly the most barren of all of these that we've done, the most lacking in humanity or humour. Nevertheless, I just hate Zombie Women of Satan. It pisses me off when I start watching it.
Yeah, no, fuck those guys. So that's that. Oh,
That's
bottom
that.
10, hooray.
Oh, it's not like us to be that negative for so long, but so let's, if you go back and listen to the episodes, we've picked out nice things to say about all of those, so you can see those there, but those are the ones that we would most not like to revisit again for a third time.
We're not doing that next year, are we?
No. We're doing something else that's dumb.
Fuck that.
Okay, right. Now let's move on to something much more positive. Let's talk about the best.
Okay.
Number 10 is Manos, The Hands of Fate. The most
Manos.
one of the most Manos has a reputation as being one of the worst films of all time, and it's deservedly so because it's just so goddamn entertaining.
The master wants you, but he can't have you. I want you.
You can get a beautiful HD copy of it out there now, and it just looks great. The awkwardness and weirdness of it is for all to see. The baffling performances pretty much throughout the cast, but in particular Torgo and our man Manos, and the director as the dad as well. There's so many memorable quotable things going on in there. You know, just the couple who never stop making out. The bizarre editing and focus moments. It's just, oh god, it's a baffling little mess, and I find it very, very enjoyable.
Definitely. Well, speaking of, Christmas Tree, the second movie we ever done.
All right! Now you know. And now that you know, you better make sure you don't tell him a thing, or you and your children are out in the cold.
It's about 20 seconds long. And yeah, it's just full of baffling decisions, animation ideas, plot contrivances, performances, freeze frames, just it's a constant laugh. Dialogue getting cut off for bizarre scene changes, and it's just got everything. It's a textbook classic in how not to do this kind of thing. Yeah. And it's on YouTube, so it's got everything.
Number 8, we have Highlander 2, The Quickening.
Let him feel the quickening!
And this is a movie, it's a Russell Mulcahy movie, and he is one of the great sort of unsung stylistic directors of the 80s and 90s, and it has all of the qualities of one of his films. It has a big eccentric villain, this time played by Michael Ironside. It has cheesy dialogue, care of Christopher Lambert and Sean Connery, which retains the camp value of that dynamic from the original film. Yeah. It has this really bizarre Gotham Batman-esque aesthetic to the whole thing, including the one street that they built for all of the action to take place on.
Yeah.
It just has many wonderful, hilarious moments throughout the whole thing. And to be clear, this is the original cut, not the Renegade cut, because you've got to keep the weird space shit in there. That's just
absolutely
great.
It's just such a joyous watch.
Yeah.
This whole thing was pure joy for me.
Yeah, you have to disconnect it from Highlander, because if you're expecting something that sort of plays it... Although Highlander itself is a movie that has a big sense of camp, so I don't think it's such a big contrast. But, you know, if that's a series that you're really caring about the future of, and when you're upset that, you know, time has passed, you can watch it for what it is now. And what it is a just wonderful little cult experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of, Birdemic.
Birdemic!
Man, that was a good movie, an inconvenient truth.
I can recall the episode easily because I remember recording the intro in a bathroom at work, and the episode itself with Ollie from Video Negative, and the movie itself is, you know, $1 million movie. James Wen is a psychopath who a psychopath with an idea and $300 to make it work. You know, clip art graphics. Just amazing non sequitur scene changes, and full of dubbing and sound quality issues. And again, it's Dark Place couldn't do it better.
You couldn't satirize this better than better than James Wen did it, because you've got this wonderful combination here of someone who is very sincere but just has all of the wrong instincts. And that combination just comes together marvellously. Okay, at number 6, we have At Long Last Love.
Well, I know what you mean.
Starring horsey ex-model Sybil Shepherd in the role that made me fall in love with her.
Fuck you, 70s.
Fuck you, 70s. This is a marvellous little film. It's a movie that was only on our radar, really, because it didn't stand up to the sort of amazing American cinema of the 1970s. And I think in and amongst that crowd, anything that has blemishes sort of stood out a lot. Nevertheless, watching it on its own as a movie, sort of in the 21st century, you can't help but admire the time, effort, and skill that went into that thing. As being a musical featuring the songs of Cole Porter?
Yes.
Yes,
I
Cole
think so,
Porter. Yeah. Lots of care there, lots of good staging. Is all the singing and dancing up to snuff? Maybe not, but it's just a very charming film, and Burt Reynolds is great in it.
That's it. It's very charming. A lot of love went into it, and it's just hard not to. It's hard to listen to those tunes and not feel fondness towards them.
What a swell party this is.
Yeah. Speaking of, number 5, one of I think my number 2 in my original list is the very Hoven classic Showgirls.
I like nice tits. I always have. How about you?
I like having nice tits.
Famous for ending the career of Elizabeth Berkley.
Yeah.
I think it's classic Verhoeven. It's very shocking. It really punches you in the face and down the throat with its point, but it's like good on the nose, you know. It's got some larger than life performances. Elizabeth Berkley really is just mega acting the shit out of this role, and it's grody and it's sleazy and it's gritty, and there's a really good looking burger in there. And although to you, I'm much more of the sloppy mess everywhere.
I'm a fan of both. I just feel the clean burger is underrepresented.
You do need both, because there's a lot to be said for Clean Burger, the new movie that we're writing with Keenan and Kel. And
they've cleaned up.
The first legitimately excellent movie in this list, I think, and just misunderstood. And if I had seen it before we'd done a regular episode on it, I would have made it a defense of.
Yeah, I can see it's a very provocative film, and I can definitely see the controversy around it and why there's a dialogue there as to, you know, the extent to which it successfully condemns what it portrays when it's doing so stylistically. But I would recommend watching it along with companion piece You Don't Know Me, spelled Nomi, an excellent documentary about Showgirls, its legacy. It features critics on both sides of the fence on this one, and it talks about Elizabeth Berkley and actually sees her reach some form of catharsis with this film, which did have a very mixed effect on her life, making her a cult figure, but also sort of trapping her within, you know, this role for the rest of her life, which, you know, has ups and downs. But yeah, it's certainly it's one of the more interesting films that I think we've ever covered, and I would highly recommend watching it and becoming part of the conversation.
Definitely.
Number 4 is The Swarm, because Michael Caine says bees a lot.
Yeah.
And it's fucking great.
I have cardiopep compound in my van.
It's very funny. It's not a great film. It's just a marvelous misfire. It's very long, but we do recommend the long version because it's got more funny stuff in it.
Definitely.
There will be a period where it kind of wanes a bit, where you adapt to how funny it is that everybody's saying bees. But oh my god, for the first half hour to an hour, it's just going to delight you. It's just going to make you so happy, and then it will ramp up somewhere around the nuclear explosion. It will ramp up to such an extent that you can no longer deny how hilarious what you're seeing is. It's it's a brilliant thing. It's some of Michael Caine's best acting, and it's a big camp bonfire of a movie.
Definitely love it. I feel like the next one, number 3 is Gem and the Holograms.
We can feel alone together and know you're not alone.
And I think Paul would probably better place to talk about this one with that good film memory. But I would just say very quickly what I remember from it is catchy music, some really touching moments, and really great catharsis at the end. You know, that made me realize, oh hey, are we watching a good movie?
Yeah, that was the big surprise. And I remember in the prep work for that one noticing comparisons to Terrence Malick and being like, oh, that's weird that this movie we're covering is being compared to one of the great auteurs, the visual auteurs of cinema history, and it's no Tree of Life, don't get us wrong, but it has an extraordinary visual flair. It has a well-meaning story that is cliched, but just about rings true, particularly when it comes to the relationship between Jem and her father, which includes a very sweet message at the end. It has some really good songs and some really good set pieces for those songs that have managed to stick with me after, Jesus, we covered that in the first year, right? Because we watched it together in the flat.
Yep.
So, yeah, it's been 3 years, and yet somehow this movie is still with me and sticking in my head. So that's very rare. That's not something you can say for The Sound of Thunder, for example.
No.
Of which I can remember 5 scenes. So, yeah, it's a surprising film, and I think it got by in our number 1 spot for a long time just because it was so surprising that it was as good as it was. But I still feel it earns its place in the list just by being something that's genuinely heartfelt. Not quite. I understand why it disappoints fans of the Jem and the Hologram series, because it would be like showing up for an Action Man movie and getting song to song, it's
unbearably loud and dangerously close and loud.
Yeah, it's like, what the fuck is this, and you have to, again, very much like Highlander 2, you've got to have that separation from expectations when it came out to what it actually is, but if you can take it on its own terms, I think you'll be surprised by how good it is.
Yeah, definitely. Not really speaking of, but speaking of is the greatest film that anyone has ever recommended us, I think. We love all of you, and it's not even a personality thing. Phil is an awful man, but he awful, just endless ogreish behavior. But pass through.
Isn't that cheating the public?
A Neil Breen dream. Christ, yeah. This is a James Wen plus infinity style visionary.
James Wen looks into the abyss and sees this.
Yeah, and shies away. Neil Breen has such vision and such ambition, but just so little skill and nous to pull it off.
And yet has created a film that I would struggle to recreate. It's like a talented filmmaker.
An artist, yeah.
Yeah, he my God, I mean, the things that are wrong here are wrong in a way that is like Pollock not being able to produce a good painting, It's like, I don't think it's intentional. I don't think he realizes that what he's doing is hilarious, rather than poignant or particularly moving in the way that he expects.
Cerebral.
Yeah, it's just, it's as bad movies go. Pass Through is like an alien culture trying to communicate with you.
Yeah. Which is what the film is kind of about.
Which is what the film's kind of about. It's like under the skin. And yeah, I just urge everyone to try and see Pass Through, and I think it is available for free online. Don't watch a YouTube clip reel. It's not going to fully articulate the... it's like an album, You need the pacing. You need the filler stuff in order to really guide your experience of this one.
You definitely do. It's almost like anti-comedy. You need the full ritual there. So, number 1 is another film I think is legitimately good, misunderstood, perhaps understandably because of the legacy that has sort of come up around Nick Cage. But Vampire's Kiss.
I'll be damned if I didn't get really turned on.
The best film I've seen on the podcast. It was after seeing the Nick Cage loses his shit reel. I was expecting a sort of mega acting gone wrong, haywire, out of control thing. But it was actually a really, really interesting film that kept its cards quite close to his chest for a little while as Nick Cage just rampages on screen, thinking that he's been turned into a vampire.
Yeah.
And there's a lot going on behind his crazed his crazed YouTube reel sort of ruined performance. It is fucking funny, almost constantly, with some real highlights, tears in the eyes kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's just a very interesting backdrop. I think we discussed this, but I don't think Nick Cage, anyone else could have made that film what it was. You needed him against that staid existence portrayed on film. Just another genuinely good movie that I would recommend. It's not a guilty pleasure. It's not so bad it's good. It's not just Cage rage. It is. It's one of those moments where you feel like, yeah, Cage got this exactly right.
Yeah, I would say I guess I'm a little less sold on it as a legitimately good film, but I would say that, I mean, yes, Nicolas Cage's performance is hilarious throughout the entire thing. That's very much the case, and you have to see it in context. The YouTube reel is not going to do it for you.
Yeah.
There is something interesting going on with it. There is stuff in there about, why is he like this? Why he's a strange man. He's clearly having some sort of psychotic break. Is it the daily grind? Is it the loneliness? What is it that's making, the idea of being a vampire and being horrified by that appeal to him? And it's there's a similar film by George A. Romero called Martin about a young man who's convinced that he's a vampire and has to go out and kill, and that's a very interesting film as well. It's it's interesting stuff, and I would recommend people watching it, because at the very least, if it doesn't quite resonate with you in the way the director intended, at the very least you will be entertained and interested and invested in it throughout. It's
yes.
Yeah, it's got a lot of very interesting moments in terms of Cage's performance, which is utterly unique and couldn't be replicated by anyone else. And yeah, it's just worth it to see him just sort of at his fullest, which I think he is in this.
Yes, without a doubt.
All right, well, time to move on. We are now going to turn over to our guests. Because, I mean, what is our podcast without our wonderful, wonderful guests who have come on and brought their great films, most of which have been sort of guilty pleasures. Very few people have challenged us with the worst film they've ever seen and dared us to try and find good things about it. I think because they realize they have to watch it too. So most people go the route of recommending a film that is bad, but that they have some affection for, which is great.
Yeah.
It's really good that people sort of come and dare to have that experience with us.
Yes.
And to put themselves on the line, because I always feel... Mark Kermode used to ask a bunch of his guests for their guilty pleasures at his MK3D show at the South Bank, and sometimes people just wouldn't do it. What's his name from the Mighty Boosh? Julian Barrett. He came on and said that his guilty pleasure was Die Hard. It's like, go away. You can't have the best action movie ever made. Yeah, as your guilty pleasure. And I think the reason I was frustrated is because there's a vulnerability to admitting your guilty pleasure. You put yourself out there a bit and you say, no, this thing that everybody hates resonates with me. And that's a bold thing to do, so I love the fact that so many of our guests do it. Nevertheless, we have gotten in touch with them all, and we've asked them to share with us their least favourite movies of all time, and something they like about it. So, let's start with... Who should we start with? You can see the list now. Shall we start with Daniel?
Why not?
Why not? Let's have Daniel, who you may remember from our Sharknado 3 episode and our Cats episode from earlier this year. Here is Daniel.
Cat should have been in the bottom 10.
Oh, God.
Hello, fellas. Congratulations on 200 episodes. For my worst movie ever, I think it has to be the Star Wars Holiday Special, which is proudly the first Star Wars movie I watched. It comes with a scene where Chewbacca's dad is watching porn in the living room, and I'm like, this is a scene in a Star Wars movie, I guess. It's garbage. The one good thing is a scene towards the end where B. Arthur owns a bar. B. Arthur's in this movie, by the way. She owns a bar. It's surprisingly emotional. When B. Arthur had this bar and she's singing about how the stormtroopers are shutting down her bar, I was like, oh, I just want this for like an hour and a half instead of the fever dream that we had before. It was real good because B. Arthur is just giving it top-notch performance. Congratulations, guys.
Thanks very much, Daniel. That's fantastic.
Yeah, thank you.
Very sweet.
God.
And yeah, have you seen the Star Wars Holiday Special?
No, I think I've suggested it quietly for a couple of Christmases, and then you always find something like Kirk Cameron's Saving Christmas or Surviving Christmas starring Kirk Cameron.
Well, look, as a treat for our fourth year doing this? Yeah, fourth year doing this. Just about. Let's do Star Wars Holiday Special next year. I guess when it comes to Christmas, I always just want something that's a bit more traditionally aesthetically Christmas. Like, I want white snow and crappy, emotionless, valueless American crap at Christmas.
Yeah.
That's my go-to. But yeah, I mean, he's right. I have seen it, and yeah, there is a bit where Chewbacca's dad gets aroused by a woman doing a seductive dance. This was the 70s, you know? It was...
Do what you want.
You could do literally anything you wanted, and no one would say anything about it. And there is a subplot about a woman who runs a bar on Tatooine, and the Empire closes it down, and she sings a song about how this is everybody's last drink, and it is emotional. No. It's very sweet, and I like that because I love the idea of a smaller story in the Star Wars universe. I like the idea that the Empire had an impact on small businesses. You know, it's because you never really find out what exactly is so bad about the Empire in the first place. And I like that this little piece of the extended lore explored that a bit.
That's a very Christmassy message, and I think we're going to get behind that next year.
The death
December
of
25th.
drinking culture in the UK is definitely a very Christmassy aspect.
This is John and Harry from Beyond the Box Set.
So, Harry, what is the worst film you've ever watched?
Probably Yentl.
Okay, and what is the one good thing you can say about Yentl?
It's not really a good thing that I'm going to say about it, but it's a thing that I like.
Okay.
It's that sometimes people can see that she's singing, sometimes people are completely oblivious, and it's inconsistent with it.
And that's a positive for you?
Made me enjoy it a bit.
Okay, so you enjoyed the mystery of, like, when is she actually singing and when is she not?
Yeah, like
Okay.
when's it in her head, when's it in real life?
Okay.
It varies, like, in the middle of songs.
Sure. Is this the real life? Is this just fantasy?
Yeah.
Is this Barbra Streisand just being nuts? Okay. Yeah, I can see how that's a good thing about Yentl.
Yeah. What about you?
So my least favourite film of all time is the most recent Predator movie.
Sure, yeah, that's absolutely fine.
Yeah, just because it was so uninspired and boring and just badly made. My one good thing, it reminded me how much of a good actor, well, how much of an important actor Arnold Schwarzenegger is. So, you know what? Had he been in that movie, it would have been better.
Do you think?
Yeah, it made me appreciate Arnold Schwarzenegger as a film star.
Okay.
Because when you watch an Arnold Schwarzenegger film without Arnold Schwarzenegger, you realise how bad those films really are.
Yeah, but
and how much he's the only thing doing the heavy lifting.
Yeah, but you saw the last Terminator film.
That was also very boring, you're right.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't even say I technically saw that film. I literally slept through it. But
oh, yeah.
So, I don't know. Maybe he's lost it, but yeah. He's not lost it for me just yet.
I think he has. But yeah, maybe merge that, put him in Yentl. Maybe that would have saved the film.
Oh my god, yeah. Streisand, Schwarzenegger. How has that film not happened?
Oh,
the sibilant S's alone.
Like... Oh, no, I'm not saying replace Manny Patinkin. I'm saying replace Barbra Streisand.
Okay, sure. No, I don't even know about the Yentl story. I'm just thinking Streisand, Schwarzenegger, put him in a movie.
Yeah.
What would that look like? Ideally a musical?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm there for it. Cool. We've just pitched the perfect movie.
Very good.
So there's our most hated movies from Beyond the Box Set and our one good things. So I hope that is what you were looking for. Thanks, guys.
Thanks. Bye.
Papa, can you hear me? Can you hear me, Papa?
I just want to sing. I'm picturing the poster. It's like the Van Damme Rodman one for, is it Double Team or something?
Yeah, Double Team. Yeah.
Yeah, it's that.
Fuck yeah.
But Schwarzenegger Streisand.
Just back to back, arms folded. This is gonna be the best thing you've ever fucking
buff
seen.
as his. Yeah.
Yeah, the last Terminator movie. That's a bit cheeky. The one good thing about that movie was that it reminded you of better movies. A little cheeky there. And I was going to set myself a rule that if anybody said something to the extent of, one good thing about this movie, it ends, or something like that, I was going to insist that we cover it, but we've already covered the Predator, so so far that fate is well and truly avoided. Nevertheless, The Last Predator, bad movie. Yentl, I've not seen. I know of its music.
No.
So yeah, that's an interesting one. But yeah, thanks very much. We should
thanks,
explain
guys.
Beyond the Box Set. John from Beyond the Box Set was on our Mommy Dearest and most recently
Inconceivable.
He returned for the wonderful, Nicolas Cage, Gina Gershon experience that was Inconceivable, and it most
Faye
certainly
Dunaway.
was.
Don't forget.
And Faye Dunaway.
Briefly. When she could sit down.
Shall we next have the wonderful people at You Know What I Like?
Yes.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Sophie.
Hi, I'm Mark.
And we're from You Know What I Like, a podcast all about flailing about your favourite pop culture.
Okay, so I'm going to go first, and my film that I've chosen as the worst film that I've ever seen is Tekken 2 Kazuya's Revenge, the misguided prequel to the apparently successful 2010 Tekken movie, and it is based, of course, on the fighting video games. It follows the adventures of Kazuya, and it shows his adventure as a young adult, where he loses his memory and he finds himself in a really bizarre training school for assassins. It has a school structure that makes no real sense. They have daily training sessions where the students apparently attempt to kill each other on a daily basis, and I have no idea how they maintain this school's population at all. However, it does have some very impressive fight scenes. Unfortunately, the love interest gets fridged in the last 10 minutes after kissing Heihachi. She immediately drops dead in perhaps the funniest death scene that I've ever watched. If you don't like any other part of this film, then I recommend watching it for that kiss and death alone, because it's just goddamn hilarious.
My contender for worst film is Zombievers, which is a 2014 horror comedy directed by Jordan Rubin, which follows a group of horny American college students who are staying in a cabin by a lake that they don't realize is infested with zombie beavers. As you might imagine, there are a number of distasteful jokes. As the zombievers begin their attack upon the cabin, humans who are bitten turn into a strange human zombie beaver hybrid. And it's kind of exactly what you would expect from that description. It's playing around with a lot of classic zombie tropes. The acting is quite wooden, but I think its saving grace is the fact that it's entirely self-aware of how ridiculous it is. And in some ways, that makes it be slightly less terrible. I feel like potentially the best part of the film is its title.
And if you've not been sold on that description, then it's just not really for you, is it?
Yeah, if you hear the title Zombievers, you'll immediately know whether or not you're the audience for this film.
Yeah. Thank you guys for inviting us on, and congrats on the 200 episodes. It's amazing.
Congratulations.
Oh, thank you very much to both of them.
Thanks. I keep feeling like I need to respond as I'm listening to the sound clips. And then the fear goes when I remember that this was in the past.
Oh, thank God. I'm so used to talking to these guys and having so much fun. They did our brilliant Seeing Double episode, and we're hoping very much to have them on in the near future for their triumphant return with whatever next sort of 90s pop-inspired disaster that they've got for us.
Worth saying they also recommended Gem and the Holograms.
Oh, they did, yes. Yeah, absolutely. So much thanks to them there. They thought they were doing us a disservice, but joke's on them because we loved it. You didn't expect that, did you? Zombievers looks amazing. It very much, in looking at some of the marketing around it, and Sophie saying that it's very self-aware, it reminds me of Piranha 3D, the first one, not the second one. It feels like it's got that cheesy kind of what you're here for kind of feel to it, but it does look quite naff, really. It looks like another one of those movies where they got the title and then got carried away.
Best way, I find.
Shit, we made the film.
Oh. Well, it's out now, I guess.
We better release it. And I love Tekken. I love the Tekken games. I love the lore behind them, so I am quite curious to see these Tekken live-action movies I didn't know existed.
I want to see who is playing Heihachi and who kissed Heihachi. Jesus.
Was it Heihachi who got kissed, or was it Kazuya?
Well, I think they said Heihachi.
Oh my god. Yeah, I want to know. Was it that grumpy old man from Kill Bill who gets his head cut off? That's the only elderly Japanese actor I can think of who's still alive right now. I hope so.
They found Toshio Mifune, and
he's not dead. He can't die. He just waits for the right role.
He's alive in me.
He's Jim Broadbent as well. All right.
Shit.
Simpsons Index?
Yeah.
Here we go.
Hey, Paul and Paul, this is Elliot J. O'Neill.
And BT Calloway.
From the Simpsons Index, Thrones of Game, and Pulp Fury Radio, and we just wanted to wish you a happy 200th podcast. And we're going to tell you about our worst movies. And this was a hard question for me personally because I relish in crap. We've been on your podcast to talk about the fact that I adore Mortal Kombat Annihilation.
Hey, we were on there for my personal pick of Resident Evil. I love that movie.
But I gotta say, when I think of worst movies that I've ever been in a theater and had to subject myself to, it'd be when I saw Valentine's Day, the Gary Marshall movie. It's just, there's no characters in it. It's 100 cameos, and it's one of the most soulless, joyless pieces of shit just there for the day and there to get people in theaters. I can't think of anything more hollow. And that there were follow-ups for New Year's Eve and Mother's Day. It was one of these things that was parodied in 30 Rock where they did, this 100 cameo movie as Martin Luther King Day. So it was already parodied, and then they did fucking Mother's Day. Yeah, so that'd be my pick, but if I could take one good thing from it, it wasn't actually hard to sit through. It wasn't an awful time. It's just, it was a bland, it was a toast sandwich.
Well, Well, speaking of sandwiches, my pick was Jurassic World 2 Fallen Kingdom, because it's so rare to see such a genuine travesty of a film. And like a sandwich, like a well-made, well-crafted, chef-prepared sandwich that was Jurassic Park. And then someone just goes, and I've shit on it. Ha-ha, just for a joke. And you're like, wow, it's so rare to watch something slide so well from Oscar-worthy film down to B-grade schlock and do it with such glee and mirth as it makes billions that it's just oddly inspiring to watch it happen.
And Chris wasn't the only prat in that movie.
Hi-oh! One good thing about Jurassic World 2 Fallen Kingdom, I laughed my ass off. It's ridiculous and I hate it.
Comedy of the year.
Yep.
Yeah, again, happy podiversary, you beautiful Pauls.
I will say Paul is my favorite.
Really? I'm more of a Paul fan.
Oh, really? Take our quiz. Are you a Paul or a Paul?
Simpsons Index. I really love one of those guys. Fuck the other guy, though.
Yeah. Paul, right?
Both Paul. Oh, God, it's spreading.
I prefer Elliot. No, fuck.
Oh, shit, it doesn't work as well. Both amazing podcast men, and what great picks.
Boys.
Wonderful boys, and they've been wonderful on both, right? Just both. Okay, no, it's
thrice.
Thrice, yeah,
occasions.
Thrice. God, they are in that rare pantheon of people we've had them 3 times. And yeah, it's just been brilliant each time.
Yeah, can't wait for the next one.
Absolutely. And regarding those picks, I mean, fucking hell, Jurassic Park Fallen Kingdom was one of the weirdest films I saw in the cinema that year. There's a point where, I mean, the marketing was all Volcano Island with dinosaurs, and the fact that that is the first act, and that the second and third acts are set in a house, where the dinosaurs are lurking around a house like it was a haunted house movie with velociraptors in it, is fucking bizarre. I couldn't believe it as I was seeing it. Yeah, they psychoed you good and proper. Chris Pratt dies in the opening credit sequence and is replaced by Julianne Moore. It's baffling. Just a very strange film, and I admire it for that, even though it was pretty bad and unmemorable in other respects.
Was it badly enough reviewed that I've got an excuse to watch it for the podcast?
Oh, shit, yeah, I'm sure it is. It was not well received. Yeah, I'll look into that. I think we could probably make that happen. What did Elliot say again?
Valentine's Day.
Valentine's Day. Yes, we are very well acquainted with the Gary Marshall movies. And you know what?
Yeah.
I wish we'd spread them out more. Because I think we did Valentine's Day and New Year's within like a couple of months of each other. And I am actually a little bit nostalgic for them because they are terrible movies. I mean, my God.
Oh, God.
As we said, each one of them is just an attempt to cram as many mediocre stories together as possible in an effort to make it feel like something meaningful is happening with characters you do not get enough time to actually like. And the structure of the whole thing is so fucking unwieldy that stories are wrapping up about 90 minutes from the end, because you then have to cycle through all the others. It's a ridiculous piece of shit that was attempting to capitalize on Love Actually, and failed to do so quite amazingly.
Yes.
So, yeah.
I do not agree with your idea for nostalgia. Put them in the vaults. Deep down.
Oh, come on. You don't want to see John Bon Jovi try and act again?
To be... What was his name?
Oh, shit. It was Jensen.
Jensen.
Fucking Jensen.
No.
Dude, I got Jensen tickets.
There are films that I would gladly rewatch, but my God, the Day trilogy is not one of them. So dull.
I would now like us to have an awed hush for my boss, Mr. Matthew Whitaker, the head guy over at Screen Mayhem.
Wait. Can you hear the angels?
Oh. I don't know why the Emperor's theme is here.
Oh. Wow, everyone's here. All the top religious dudes.
The entire glorious host has shown up to hear what Matthew might have to say.
Hi, Pauls. I know this doesn't fit with your rules around what makes a bad movie, but I just wanted to take a second and take a big dump on The Dark Knight Rises. Bane was hokey, Batman got his back broken, and that stupid fake-out ending was at the top of my gripes. Sprinkle in the worst Batwoman side thing ever. It's just a mess of hot garbage. I think we'll all miss the universe, the dark, made-up thing that, you know, look at the old Batman, it's a little pow and kazooie and stuff, but there's something cool about the Nolan universe and Bale as Batman. Not enough to sit through this garbage again, but it's something. So there we go.
Great choice, boss.
Well, Paul doesn't have a job anymore, but
Oh no, don't worry, mate. I'll have edited out the last 12 minutes of me screaming.
Oh, okay. Well, you're gonna send it to him, though, right?
You gotta. Yeah, I've got to send it to him. It's technically part of my output, and he does own all of it.
Yeah. Even this. Oh, great. Okay.
We would slightly disagree, in as much as fucking love The Dark Knight Rises. It's yeah, really great. One of my favorite action movies of the 2010s, and it's one of the best superhero movies ever, as far as I'm concerned. And I really love Anne Hathaway as Selena Kyle. I thought she was great. I thought she just got the balance right of just kind of almost could be a villain / definite moral center. Really great, and the kind of seductive independence was just really great. I thought she nailed it.
Yeah, and I love the fake out ending. I love that actually in this trilogy, Batman, he gets to be happy. He's not like Snyder's Superman or Batman, where he has to be Jesus.
Has to be.
He has to be Jesus, but no, he gave so much, and he actually gets something back for a change.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we respectfully disagree, but thank you very much for contributing. I miss that universe. I recently got something, a player capable of playing 4K Ultra HD, and one of the first things I want to buy to watch on it is the Dark Knight trilogy, because I just can't wait to return to Nolan's vision of Gotham. It's so cool. It's the thing. It's only really matched by Michael Mann's Heat and Collateral in terms of the way in which a city is portrayed as this just incredible, awesome place where anything could happen. And it just feels huge in the Fritz Lang kind of silent era epic happenings. And I love The Dark Knight Rises all the more for that, because it does represent that. And Bane, for me, is just, one of the best villains. Love the guy. And I love the fact that everybody at the time thought that he was representing some form of left-wing revolutionary, when clearly what he was a popularist. And now Nigel Farage, David Cameron, and Boris Johnson and Donald Trump have all said things that the newspapers have been keen to point out are similar to things that Bane have said. You know, and I think that's just great. It's great that they preempted all of that, because it's not hard to preempt the incredibly dumb one-note popularist argument. My favourite thing about the potential political leanings of The Dark Knight was that fucking idiot, is it Rush Limbaugh? The American talk show guy, thought that it was an attack against right-wing politics because he heard the bad guy was called Bane, and there was something called, like, Bane Economics or something.
Oh, God.
So that was literally as far as his analysis went.
Wow.
It was even spelt differently.
That's all you need. A thing to say, and then you say it.
And then people listen and think it's good. And that's our podcast. Okay, so thanks very much, boss. We still respect very much your opinions on Christopher Lambert. Shall we have the baby bearders?
Yeah, why not?
Welcome, everyone, to trying to find out the good thing about the worst thing. I'm Sean Flurl.
I'm Red and Horny.
I'm still waiting for Cyberpunk.
And we're spiders. Sure are.
We've been tasked by our good friends, the Pauls, to figure out our worst films and give a good thing about them. So let's go around the round table. Ellen?
Okay, my worst film that I've seen is Hellboy 2019. And the best part about it was an actor stepping down from a role because he wasn't of Asian descent. So good on you, Ed
Good
Screen.
on him. Well done.
Hell yeah.
Fighting that whitewashing.
Yeah.
Love it.
Fighting the good fight. Phil?
Nearly everything about the Street Fighter movie with Jean-Claude Van Damme is embarrassing and lame, except for the line, "For you, the day bison graced your village was the most important day of your life. But for me, it was Tuesday."
Such a good line. Raul Julia.
That's a really good line.
Can step into my heart anytime.
Yeah.
Step on my heart
For
anytime.
myself, it was a film called Alien vs. Hunter.
It's not even Predator.
Nope, it's by Asylum Films, whose sole purpose is to find films and make them slightly different. They're all fucking the worst.
Yeah.
Except the one good thing is that they provide jobs for a lot of men and women who get to work every year, because they make enough money to make their budget for the next film, and then they do the next film. So they provide work.
That is
Steady
good.
work.
They
That
provide
is
steady
good.
work. That's a good thing.
That is a good thing. Mine is The Lovely Bones, which is an awful film.
I know where this is going.
Dreadful film. And the one good thing is that Stanley Tucci. Well, Stanley Tucci, he makes a really good pedophile.
Well, yeah, I was going to say, that's you set up the worst joke ever there, Sean.
That's literally the one good thing about that film, is that his performance is really good and really unsettling.
Wow.
Where
On
you
that
are-
note...
Yeah. You know what, Pauls? Congrats on you both.
Yeah.
They're going 200 episodes.
And thanks for having us on and always, disrupting the lovely flow of your podcast.
Sorry for going 2 hours every time we go on.
But we didn't this time, because Baby Beard Media learns our lesson sometimes.
Thanks for glossing past episodes as well. I appreciate that.
It's a gift to you, buddy.
We're never gonna let that go.
No.
Sorry.
We love you, Paul, and we'll give you the noise that's going to haunt you forever. Ow.
Ow.
Bye.
Down from
Bye.
3 on 6.
Fuck you! Fuck you! Fuck you! Fuck you!
Fuck all of you! This is really hard, okay? We can't help making that noise.
I've got numblexia. It's really, really hard.
Literally the first thing I was going to say when we came back was going to be about that, so I'm glad he got on top of that. That's how you do it, you see.
You hit the weak spots constantly. Thanks,
You're in
guys.
weak spots, and they won't see him. Yeah, Baby Beard. What can we say about Baby Beard? They've been... Oh, Jesus. I mean...
A thorn in our side.
A thorn in our side, a fucking hellscape. But also just, like, one of the most genuinely good things that came out of this podcast is their friendship. Because, like, we met these guys because we had a podcast. And we've met them in real life. You know, and, like, bonded with them. We've imprinted on them, scented them. And now they're ours.
They're ours
and
now.
that's, completely ours. And it's been incredible. It's wonderful to have these guys in our pockets, so to speak, politically speaking. And it's just, the fear of getting too mushy is, we're very, very grateful for the Baby Bearders.
Yeah, no, it's been great. Been over to Adelaide a few times to see them, been able to record roll to cast with them, make music for them.
I've not done that, but they are a little further away from me.
Yes, but you've been in the same room and recorded a
have.
podcast with them, and we ate pizza together, and we laughed together and loved together.
We all made love together, and it was beautiful. And
as weird as you'd
not forget
expect.
It was as weird and uncomfortable as you'd expect, but I loved it. Let's talk about some of their film choices. Hellboy 2019, we covered it. It was terrible, and I do like that good thing. I think you're completely right, and more actors should do that. Take responsibility rather than just say, "Oh, the director wanted what the director wanted." Take responsibility and actually step away in order to promote, voices of other people. But I mean, Ed Screen stepping out the way so that I don't even remember his name, unfortunately, could step into Hellboy. It's very much like ushering obviously onto a sinking ship. No, you take my place. Oh, thank you very much.
Look, quote is a quota, mate.
Oh, Christ. Then we had Street
kudos
Fighter,
to
the
him.
movie. Obviously, I've defended it. It's amazing. I love it. I sincerely, genuinely love it. But yeah, that line is utterly fantastic.
Yes.
Lovely Bones. Yeah, terrible film. I love that. Stanley Tucci makes for a good pedophile because I know what he means. It's very convincing. You're like, oh yeah. Even though actually most pedophiles generally are younger men, he plays like what you picture when you think of a pedophile.
Yeah, okay. And also is one. What?
And also is one in actual life. So yeah, it was really good that the film exposed that.
What was that sentence about? It's unrelated to the one you just said.
Now, Alien vs. Hunter, the line, it's good because it gave people work. I think that might be poor enough that we now have to cover it.
Oh.
Because every movie gave people work.
Yeah.
But I know what he means. The asylum business model is very much that they keep their own people. I mean, somebody has to hire Tara Reid, and I'm just really glad that they've shouldered that responsibility.
Because it can't be Uwe Boll anymore.
It literally can't be. Not since he retired to make steak. But yeah, I mean, we've never actually covered a mockbuster. We've flirted with the asylum in their Sharknado movies, which were very much their own intellectual property. It would be interesting to see, because I interviewed Fund 11 for Screen Mayhem, and we did discuss how these things come about. And literally, they find out the title of a movie that's in production, and then make their own title, and then make the movie based on that. You know,
Wow,
they know
okay.
nothing. They would have known nothing about Alien vs. Predator when they made that movie. So it will resemble Alien vs. Predator only in title.
And spunky get-go.
And now we come to our final group, which is a bunch of our actual human friends that we met before we podcasted. Met them in the wild. I know, it's disgusting. They don't have a podcast, but they have appeared on ours. They guest appeared in our episode on Frontal Combat.
Yes.
Which was an amazing experiment in
The
pull-on
limits
pull
of
action.
our anxieties.
Which we definitely exceeded. It's not an episode I enjoy going back and listening to because I did genuinely get upset in a way that I felt very, very guilty about for a long time. I do accept that in entertainment, this is a thing that happens sometimes. That you get genuinely invested, and that's not necessarily the worst thing in the world. I think watching Taskmaster has helped, because there are moments in Taskmaster where the contestants do get genuinely disappointed and let it be shown. But it's just part of the ride.
As well they should.
As well they should, you know. Greg Davis is a fucking monster and an idiot, so you have to let him know that.
He's a clown and a charlatan.
Fucking clown of a man. And nothing demonstrates that more than this lovely clip from our friends. We've got Sarah Keep, Nell Heald, and Jennifer Blundell.
Jennifer What's-Her-Face.
All of whom appeared on that episode, but have also given to the podcast in numerous different ways over the years, and we're very grateful for them. And here's them talking not quite as succinctly as some of our other guests about their least favourite films. Let's listen, but also listen.
Hello. Hi. Take two. We'll try that again.
I'm just going to shout hello.
Cut this out. Cut this out. This man will be in the podcast. Okay.
Okay. Are we going to say it all at the same time?
Sure, let's try that.
Okay.
Hello. Please feel bad. Hello. Congratulations on reaching 200 episodes, Paul, and also Paul. You've asked us back. Goodman asked us back because Paul Salt is still really upset that we didn't pick Deep Impact.
A terrible film.
A terrible film. Right. But you've asked us to come on and list or say our least favorite film, but say one good thing about them. And we decided we couldn't say Deep Impact again because it just wouldn't be right. So,
although it is the worst film of all time.
It is the worst. So if we put Deep Impact aside, I think the worst film I could think of, it's a hard carry. It's the 2015 Bradley Cooper film Burnt, which I watched in a cinema in Melbourne before getting a flight home. It's not outright terrible. It's just incredibly unremarkable. And Bradley Cooper is not a likable main character. And it's hard to relate to his goals of being a Michelin star chef. But those are all negative things. The good thing about it is Daniel Bruhl, who is a wonderful actor, who's hard to hate. Well, I was about to say hard to hate in any film, but I remembered he's in Inglourious Basterds as a Nazi. So,
that's the quote.
Hard to hate
Sarah Keep says, cannot hate Daniel Bruhl in any role. Love everything ever.
Don't take this out of context. Anyway, Daniel Bruhl is my one good thing about the 2015 film Burnt.
I don't know who that is, but
You were right.
If you Google him, you'll recognize his face. Okay. I am Jen, and my least favorite film is The Tourist. It's a bad film, and I'm saying this even though I didn't watch the whole thing, but I think I saw a good third of it. And this is, I think this is the only film I've walked out of a cinema during, because it hit a point where they have a scene where it's what's his name? It's Angelina Jolie and that other famous guy.
Johnny Depp.
Thank you, Johnny Depp. And
it's actually quite good that you forget who he is nowadays in the year 2020.
It's an advantage. And he has a fantasy about going into her room and making out with her, and then he wakes up. And that's the whole scene, is that he dreamt about kissing her. It's very good. It's a terrible film. And that was the point I walked out. So it could have got better, but probably not. It didn't. No. At the very least, I don't remember it being boring. I feel like at least it was strange and it moved along. And also they filmed some of it in Venice. Venice looks nice. It's always nice to be in That's probably Venice. the best thing. That's the best, right? Is them just saying, oh, we've got no plot or characters, so let's just put it in Venice, and that will give it atmosphere. But yeah, that's quite easily one of the worst film I've seen. The Tourist.
I am Nell, and I'm really finding it difficult to think of the worst film since Jupiter Ascending, which is the worst film. But I said I wouldn't go on about it because I have already recommended it as an episode for OGT. So if I go more of a recent film, I could not sit through, and I think this film actually was rated quite well. So don't tear me to shreds, Pauls, when you do the episode. Juliet Naked. I found that insufferable. I don't even think I made it 20 minutes in, maybe 10 to 15. The characters were awful. I know it's a Nick Hornby book. There's other Nick Hornby films. I liked other ones, I suppose. But my God, they're awful people. And just no. But I don't know what's a good thing to say about it. Can I have a good thing that it reminded me that I really love Gattaca?
Yeah, that seems like a good
If
thing.
I go like the Ethan Hawke connection, can I have?
It reminded me to go watch something better.
It reminded me that Ethan Hawke is in good films, not this one, but in other good films.
But I feel that's a cheat good thing. It's
Did
not
they have
a real
good
one.
costume design, maybe?
No. Like
No?
honestly, I don't think I watched enough of it to get something good.
Was anyone actually naked in it?
No. Oh no, not that I saw. There probably was someone naked
at some point.
Oh,
was it emotionally naked?
They must have been like they were on the seaside. That was nice.
Seaside's nice.
Seaside's nice.
Sea town. Sea town. A sea town.
A sea town. Wonderful.
Oh, there you go, Balls. There are the one good things from some of our least favourite films.
I hope that was
enlightening.
I hope that was not audio poison. Also, don't stop recording yet because I didn't introduce myself, so just cut this in. Hi, I'm Sarah. There we go.
So that's how you introduce yourself. I mean, I am name.
Hi, I am Sarah.
Hello, I am Jen.
Hello, podcast listeners. I am Sarah.
Hello, friends. I am Jen.
I'm here to talk about movies.
I have selected
Listen, I'm sure
empirically worst movie.
I said it normally the first time.
Yeah, some of our robotic friends there.
Yeah.
Wishing us
Even
well.
their robot least.
Yeah, the things that most messed with their programming. And thank Christ that Nell pulled out the beach thing about Juliet Naked, or I was going to add it to the list.
It's got 83% on Rotten Tomatoes, Paul. I already checked.
Oh, thank God.
But it is shit. Nell and I watched it together, actually, and yeah, the decision to turn it off after 20 minutes was a huge relief. Chris
Massively
O'Dowd,
mutual.
I don't think I've ever known such a sort of more sniveling and unlikable piece of shit than his character was in that film. And to think that we were just going to have to follow him for the duration of that movie was sickening.
Sounds like a Michelle Haneke style sort of fraught journey into the soul. Also, Burnt, yeah, there was a huge amount of marketing around that. I did not see it because it didn't interest me, really. It seemed to be about a Gordon Ramsay-style chef, but without the sort of self-awareness of, you know, your phantom thread that would tear the shit out of that kind of masculine figure for being an absolute unlikable prick. It seemed like it was kind of, oh, he's such a troubled genius, and yet his food, so good. It's like, fuck off. The work environment is not worth it. I'd rather work in a McDonald's where people said hello to each other each morning than a fucking 5-star restaurant where people go home and cut themselves.
I haven't seen it, probably won't ever. Good to know.
But Daniel Bruhl.
It's not a problem. Yeah, Daniel Bruhl's in it. Hey, I like Daniel Bruhl. I do.
Oh,
like
I love
him,
Daniel Bruhl.
I loved him as a Nazi.
Yeah, he's a great Nazi. He's my favourite Nazi. And yes, The Tourist I share. It was also made a list of my least favourite films of all time for a long time. We have not yet covered it on the podcast. We should probably see to that at some stage. It is a glorified holiday for Angelina Jolie and Johnny Depp that they decided to try and make a bit of extra money off of by filming it and putting it out. And it was severely underwhelming and a real disappointment from that director with the crazy name.
He did Das Leben der Anderen.
That was it. Yeah, thank you very much to our wonderful friends for
thank you so
making
much,
that
everyone.
contribution, because it's amazing. And yeah, we love you all in varying but equally significant ways.
Buckets, yeah.
Yeah.
Makes us feel like we've achieved something.
It really does. What wonderful messages from our guests. It's just reminded me of all the amazing times we've had with all of them. We've been really lucky on this podcast to have, and that's the really great thing about podcasting, is the people we've met through it. It's just, it's just been so rewarding to get to know these people and hear about all their worst films.
Indeed.
So, I think we're coming close to the end, thank fuck. All that's left to do is check in with the OG team one last time to see if they asked us any questions and offered up any more worst films and good things about them.
Yeah, cool. Okay, let's have a look. And we've got a couple. One of them is Ellen.
Oh, no.
Already done a thing. Ellen's question is, why don't you like High Fidelity, Paul? Also, I request that you duke it out on air. Also, I was wondering over how much art could be considered subjective when a movie is bad. Is it because it fails on a particular standard dictated by its genre or premise, or is it all about what you like and why you like it, or don't like it? 2-hour episode.
That is a very large question. Roger Ebert would always try and judge things on their own merit, but I think even he would have to concede that it comes entirely down to personal taste. Zombie Women of Satan arguably does succeed at what it set out to do, of being a kind of naff. No, it doesn't. Fuck that. It's not funny. It tried to be funny and it's not. And it tried to be sexy and it's not. So, no. Sometimes the film can be objectively bad.
Someone would disagree with you entirely on that point.
I guess.
Would disagree with you entirely on how funny Zombie Women of Satan is, including the big fans of Zombie Women of Satan.
Yeah. Okay, well, in that case, there are some things you can objectively point to and say this is a bad thing. Like Artemis Fowl, you can point at the sheer amount of exposition in that movie and say this is poorly done. This is not how you tell a story in a visual medium. And also, you fail to adapt this series because you fail to appreciate what is special about the series. Those things are relatively objective, but again, not even entirely. We covered this, right? We covered this in talking about perfect movies. We talked about whether or not anything can be considered objectively perfect. The same goes for being objectively bad. It's an art, not a science. There's that dreadful movie review somewhere out there which says Room is a bad movie and here's why, and it sets out a formula for why it's a bad movie, and the formula's ridiculous because Room is a great movie. So, you just cannot gauge movies in that way. It's about its relationship with you. What was the first part of the question?
Why don't you like High Fidelity, Paul?
Ah, shit. No, it bespoke an experience that I did not share and did not enjoy. How about that?
That's nice and succinct.
Yay. We need a bit more of that.
Okay, well, thanks, Ellen.
Thanks, Ellen.
Moving on. Speaking of succinct, Paul Hawkins from the Blokebusters said, "Is there any film that you guys hated when growing up that you haven't yet done an episode on?" Follow up: what film that has been critically praised do you think is just not that good? Well, Paul, if you're a member of our Patreon, you'd bloody know.
Yeah, we actually, in the last Patreon episode, we discussed exactly that thing. So I recommend giving us money to find out the answer to your question. But if you don't want to spend money, it's at the moment just Boyhood for me. But I am considering a rewatch, and I think actually maybe seeing as Boyhood is a critically adored movie that neither of us like very much, that perhaps we could even go outside of our usual format and devote an episode to it.
Yeah, we should absolutely do that. We owe it to ourselves.
Yeah, I think so. And to Richard Linklater.
Yes, sure.
Who helped you move.
That's true, and I gave him those beers, but it's like a blood thing at that point. Hated growing up that I haven't done an episode on.
Oh yeah.
I don't know. Nothing's coming to mind. But if it does, you'll be the first to know.
The Mummy Returns. I think that was critically hated. I didn't like it. That's the first movie I remember disliking, is The Mummy Returns. Yeah. And we haven't covered that. I don't particularly feel a need to. Right now I don't have any particularly strong feelings against it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's it. The only other movie that is critically hated that we haven't covered, it wasn't growing up, but it was The Tourist, which I saw when I was about 21, I think. And was dreadful, so yeah.
Yeah, God, I have to do The Tourist, for sure.
Yeah, it's going in.
Lastly, from Paul, my film choice would be the absolutely abysmal, horrific, and downright terrible Ghost in the Shell live-action adaptation.
Ooh, good choice.
Maybe it has some nice visuals. There's got to be at least 3 frames that don't feature the major that look good.
No, agreed. There's some beautiful visuals in there, very much borrowed from sort of Blade Runner and the original manga, but it completely fails to invoke the same interest, emotion, and depth as the original manga or anime films. So, yeah, that was a pretty bad movie. Yeah, and Scarlett Johansson was not best for that role. Yeah, it was a misstep.
I have not seen it, and yeah.
Some of the production design is great. I love the robot geishas in the scene that's a remake of the opening scene of the anime. But if anyone hasn't seen Ghost in the Shell the anime, you owe it to yourself because it's one of the best out there.
Yeah. Don't fuck around with the remake.
Nah.
Hey, boys and girls at home, don't fuck around with a remake.
Unless it's Suspiria.
Then fuck around with that.
Yeah, fuck with that. Fuck with that shit.
Yeah.
It was True Grit.
Oh, yeah.
But arguably not a remake, another adaptation of the material. So, thanks, OG Team.
Thanks, True Grit.
Thanks, True Grit, for always being there for me. And I think that's pretty much going to do it for our 200th episode.
I think so.
We're halfway to a Halloween special at this stage, so I think all that's left to say is thank you so much for listening to this episode, above all others, because my God. But just every episode that you've listened to, we've enjoyed. We've loved doing this. We can't wait to get back to recording on non-Christmas movies next week. Yeah, I can't wait to see the delights and the surprises that a new year will bring doing one good thing.
Indeed. It's been wonderful. There'll be more challenges, more laughs.
Yeah.
And more of this. And that.
Oh!
And this up there.
No! Get it off. Get it out of there.
No.
Well, how can people find out about more of that sort of thing?
They can look right up Twitter at OGTPod and Facebook at OGTPod, and they can send us an email right up Gmail at OGTPod@gmail.com. Dry or wet, we'll take it. We don't care. We love it. We have our Patreon, remember, where for as little as $1 a month, you get exclusive access to exclusive content. Exclusive. We've been doing the Brett Goldstein Films to be Buried with idea. Hopefully it's not trademarked. Who knows?
We'll find out
in many months, I'm sure. So yeah, but we've been doing a lot of Let's Plays. We've been doing a lot of Paul's pitches, and more is to come for 2021. And we've now been doing Patreon for a year, so it's been growing steadily, and we've hit our first milestone. But we've got some TTRPG milestones ahead. So if you want to hear the Pauls do a bit of TTRPG style hijinks, then Patreon's what you got to do. Sonny, bye.
So long. I am Paul Salt. I am Paul.
I am Paul Goodman.
And remember, the one good thing about one good thing is all the people who made it, including you, my wonderful co-host, Paul Goodhand.
And good Paul Salt.
Take care, everyone.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.